It's Chris Broussard, but Acho, who benefits more from the Suns' playoff success? Chris Paul or Devin Booker?
It's Devin Booker, but fellas, I had to just answer the question first before I get to this topic. I love topics like this, Broussard, because topics like this let me go back to the early 2000s, the late 90s, when I personally fell in love with the game of basketball. When I would get back home and like when I really fell passionately in love with the game, so I can speak my passionate truth from true knowledge. The reason it's Devin Booker is because he still has so much pendulum to see swing. Chris Paul, many people think he's going to be the second, third, fourth greatest point guard of all time. Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Chris Paul. Magic Johnson, Chris Paul, Isaiah Thomas, etc. Maybe you're a fan of the Steve Nash Stocktons of the world, but either way, Chris Paul falls into your top 5 point guards of all time. We already conceded that Chris Paul was never going to get a ring. In our heads, we were like, okay, he's already around year 15. We're just going to go ahead and concede that he's not going to get a ring and stack him accordingly in the top 5. Whether they make a deep playoff run, he's not going to supersede Magic. He's still going to fall in the top 5 point guards of all time, second, third, fourth, depending on what you like, depending on the style of play you like. Devin Booker, on the other hand, I'm going to give y'all 2 names in the first 10 years of their career. When I look at Devin Booker, a deep playoff run or a championship can land him somewhere between the likes of Tracy McGrady to Kobe Bryant. Y'all remember the first 10 years of T-Mac and Kobe's career? There really was not much difference. Both were elite scorers. Both had 2 scoring titles. Both were all-stars. From 2000 to 2007, both made the all-star game several times. Remember, Kobe made 2 more all-star appearances, but Kobe came into the league a year prior. What was the primary difference between the two? Kobe had chips and went to chips. Kobe didn't have no regular season MVPs. Kobe didn't even have any finals MVPs. Let's not get it twisted. In the first 10 years of their career, they were eerily similar. Both were icons. I had T-Max. They both had the shoes. Both were dudes. The difference was one was a dude that won and one was just a dude. Devin Booker making a deep playoff run will start to lean him towards the side of a dude that won, not just being a dude. We know Devin Booker's capable of dropping 70. We know he's capable of scoring points. We know he's capable of leading the league in scoring. At least we can assume that based upon what we have seen him do. But is he capable of doing all of that and winning? And when I look at the decades ago of basketball, there are several great scorers. But are you a great scorer that can also win? Imagine the difference in how we look at Carmelo Anthony versus Dwayne Wade. Carmelo Anthony scored more points than D-Wade. Carmelo Anthony's still playing. D-Wade retired a little bit ago. But D-Wade won a chip. And not only did he win a chip, he won a chip first. I'm going to get to that in my second lap, in my second layer. But Devin Booker needs a deep playoff run, needs a finals appearance, Western Conference or NBA Finals, more than CP3, because he actually has more at stake at this point in time.
I'm not mad at you, Acho. Or let me say this. I'm not that mad at you. All right, that was a pretty nice argument. And to your point, there was a great illustration with Kobe and McGrady. You could throw Vince Carter in there too, right?
Yes, sir.
Same type of thing, but he wasn't winning, so that was good. But I'm going to go, it depends on how deep they go. Because, I don't have Chris Paul rated as high as you do. And I know let me introduce you to this guy named Steph Curry. All right? Who you just left out of your top 5.
That's on me.
The top 4 are set. Top 4 are set at point guard, and Chris Paul's not in it. I don't know very many people that will put him in the top 4 above Magic, Steph, Oscar Robertson, and Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, sir.
That's the top 4. Chris Paul's in the discussion right now for 5th with John Stockton, Jason Kidd. Some might say Steve Nash. We can go back to Walt Frazier, stuff like that. But he's in the discussion. It's a group together. But none of them led teams to championships. All right, Walt Frazier won them with the Knicks, but of the guys, Stockton, Kidd won one when he was much older, not playing at the level that Chris Paul is right now when he was in Dallas. So my point is this. If the Suns get to the finals, and so especially if they win the finals, Chris Paul will benefit most. Because Chris Paul, I think, would be locked in at number 5 if they at least get to the finals, definitely if they win the finals. He's the locked in at the top 5 that puts him ahead of Stockton, J. Kidd, all those guys. But if they, to your point, if they just say get to the Western Conference Finals and don't get to the finals, then I do think it's Devin Booker. Because Chris Paul's been to the Western Conference Finals. With Houston, he got hurt, actually, missed the last 2 games, but he's been that deep. So that really doesn't change his legacy. Whereas Devin Booker, I agree with everything you said about him. He would now, his numbers, he's averaged 25 and 5 assists over the last 4 years. But a lot of people look at those as empty calories because they never have been to the playoffs until this year. But if they get to the conference finals and you look at it, you go, hold up. He was the MVP of the series with the Lakers, taking out LeBron. And, maybe he's the MVP of a few more series or this series going forward. That's when, as you said, he begins to move ahead of all the young boys, Jason Tatum, and all the young guys that are his age. You'd have to put him near the top of that list. So I think it depends on how far you go.
Man, I'm coming in to break the tie right here, and it's not even that difficult to break this tie. It's CP3. He's going to benefit more from this situation in playoff success. Let me tell you why. He already has a legacy-defining narrative that he's trying to erase. Now, none of these guys' legacies are written in stone right now, not written in permanent ink. But there's a pencil out there that Chris Paul's trying to flip over to grab the eraser and say, oh, I know I've only been to the Western Conference Finals, but watch me now. So that's going to change the narrative going forward. That's a huge benefit versus Devin Booker that even you said, Acho, it's kind of like a pendulum swinging. It could go a lot of places, but right now, it doesn't matter. He has so much more runway in front of him versus Chris Paul. A lot of that hay is already out the barn. So as the quote goes, it's easier to raise whole children than to fix broken adults. Guess what? It's easier to let Devin Booker keep doing Devin Booker things and something good can happen than to say, hey, Chris, all them issues before, hamstring here, hamstring there, inadequate play, whatever there. You know what? We're going to change your legacy. But he has a moment right now to erase that. So we're just looking at this equation differently. The way that I'm adding it up, you guys are actually subtracting. And it's kind of interesting. I say, look, give them their props and we'll see where they land in terms of historical legacies. Y'all saying, basically, he's only going to land here, so then let's see if we're going to give him their props. That's not the benefit equation. The benefit equation is give me my money, and then I'll tell you what tax bracket I'm in. Y'all talking about why give him his money. We already know where he's going to land, and that's not the way to look at this. Devin Booker, you got a lot in front of you. Chris Paul, you don't, and this one means a lot more.
So, you're exactly right. You calling me out exactly how I look at it. I just look at it very simply like Broussard. Broussard, you're saying if Chris Paul wins a chip, he's solidified at 5th. But you've already said he's somewhere at like 4th to 6th or 7th. So we're talking about moving 1 to 2 spots all the time. When I think of Steph Curry, it's weird. I don't necessarily think of him as a true point like I think of Allen Iverson because of how many points he scores. Whereas when you think about Chris Paul, he's dropping 15 assists with no turnovers in a game. When I think about Steph Curry, he's not necessarily doing that. So I didn't factor Steph Curry into the point guard equation. I think of him as those scoring point guards. I'd put him in a different category. Quick aside. But when you think about Devin Booker, y'all, look at the young superstars in the game right now. Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, Zion, LaMelo, Devin Booker, Spidey Mitchell, Jamal Murray. It's going to be a race to who gets the chip first. Let's go 03 draft class. D-Wade, Melo, Bosh, LeBron. D-Wade won that chip in 06, and he was instantly in a category differently than Carmelo Anthony. LeBron was a superstar, so he was transcendent. He was in his own. But he was instantly in a category different than Bosh and different than Melo. Then all of a sudden, LeBron goes to his chips. And now, D-Wade, LeBron, but Melo is still way, way, way far behind. Not because he wasn't scoring, not because his team wasn't making it to the playoffs, but because he didn't reel to win the real one. Broussard, when I think about Devin Booker, is he going to be in a conversation with Tatum and Luka and Zion and Ja, or can he differentiate himself like D-Wade did? And forever now, we look at Melo and we look at D-Wade and we look at them differently. Yes, Melo has more points, Melo may have been a better scorer for longer, but we look at them differently because one got a chip and one got a chip first. I think Devin Booker will be looked at vastly differently than Chris Paul will be looked at based upon getting a chip.
I'm going to tell you how your answer can definitely be right because you mentioned D-Wade. D-Wade didn't just win a chip as Shaq's sidekick. D-Wade was the finals MVP. D-Wade was the one, and even though Shaq was still really good, 20 points, 10 rebounds a game that season, I believe. But D-Wade in the playoffs especially, in those finals especially, carried them. Now, let's say they get to the finals. It's hard to picture them beating Brooklyn.
Of course.
But let's say they do it. Let's say they win the championship. If Devin Booker gives you between 27 and 30 points a game, and he is just roasting Kyrie or playing even with Kevin Durant, whatever it may be, and they win, that's when no matter what CP3 does, within reason, CP3 will be his 18 and 10 assists. Devin Booker would probably benefit more. In the moment, we would all feel sentimental. We would love CP. We would, it's great. He finally got his ring, blah, blah, blah. But going forward, Devin Booker would be the guy. If he does that, now that's asking a lot.
True.
But if he does that type of stuff in the finals, then you're right. Now his legacy is just a matter of, okay, how high can this guy go? It would kind of be similar to D-Wade in Miami at that point.
Yeah, but it's not just how high he can go. It's also how low can you go. And Devin Booker, even if he drops right now, he's already exceeding expectations, even if they falter going forward. But still, he has room to recover. CP3 doesn't have that same runway, that same room to recover. So this is almost a stopgap, as your financial consultant would tell you. Like, the market's going down. We're just going to stop once he hits this point. Chris Paul is in that position right now where you got to stop the bleeding. And this year, it looks like he's finally going to stop the bleeding. He's only one game over 500 in his playoff career. Yeah, that's including all what y'all seeing right now in terms of Phoenix playoff success. 6 first-round exits in his playoff career. He's 14th all-time in assists, but one of only 2 players in the top 14 that has not been to an NBA Finals, him and Steve Nash. So it's crazy when you showed me the full screen about T-Mac and Kobe. I want to see Acho's face because the only thing I want to push back on with that full screen is Kobe was a year older in terms of play. The injury-riddled years for T-Mac, 1 year he only started 2 games, 1 year 40 games because he stayed injured. And also the fact that Kobe's reaction when he finally won a ring without Shaq, let me know that them other 3 rings he won with Shaq, we were counting them more than he was. Because Kobe was elated that he finally did it without Shaq. That's not to say that people didn't regard Tracy McGrady highly or Kobe a little more, but I don't think it was a wide gap in terms of who was having a better career in 06. Remember, this is Smush Parker days. Remember, this is the Lakers going through their dry spell. It was dark out here, even though maybe nationally people still looked at Kobe in a higher light. My last point is this, simply. So all these assumptions and what ifs and where he gonna land in legacy, this is why I don't go to the barbershop. Because y'all just talking in circles. Why don't y'all do this? Just give them they damn props and give them they damn gold that they've earned and see where that lands them. But right now, y'all keep saying, well, if we give him this and we don't give him this, then he gonna go here. That's not how the game is played. Chris Paul could benefit the most because right now, he's been given the least.